Why humanity's weakness is the galaxy's strength. Chapter 1, The Darkness Approaches. The vastness of space held a mystery that even the most advanced civilizations failed to comprehend fully. For hundreds of years, the Galactic Empire, once a beacon of order and progress, expanded its dominion across the stars, exploring worlds, establishing colonies, and forging alliances with myriad alien races. They had developed advanced technologies, weaponized energy beams that could obliterate entire battleships, and tactical acumen that made them the envy of the cosmos. But in the deep void between galaxies where light struggled to penetrate, an ancient terror awakened. It began with a whisper in the cosmic winds, the disappearance of several small planets within the perpetual expanse, a relatively unremarkable region nestled between the Erythian and Belzeran systems. At first, these vanishings were chalked up to natural phenomena or the byproducts of intersystem skirmishes. But as entire colonies began to flicker out of existence, reports trickled back to the Imperial Command, igniting a spark of fear that swiftly ignited panic. Admiral Turneth, I must insist, Lieutenant Telia nervously prodded, her silver uniform glinting under the sterile lights of the Imperial flagship Valiant Star, we need to ready the fleet. The reports are coming in too fast. Entire sectors are. I understand, Lieutenant, roared Admiral Turneth, though the back of his mind swirled with uncertainty. A man of strategy and calm, he sensed an encroaching chaos that brushed against the edges of his reason. But what was he supposed to prepare for? Hostile races? A natural disaster? As if in answer to his unvoiced concern, the view screen trembled, the static forming ripples of black and white. Visual feed from Sector Theta 9, announced the communications officer, her voice suddenly trembling with unease. The image coalesced to reveal an empty void where a star had once burned brightly. The loss of life, the entire planetary system gone in a heartbeat, dwarfed any catastrophe Turneth had witnessed throughout the Empire's storied history. Send a message to the High Council, he commanded, the gravity of his tone betraying his exterior calm. This is an extermination. Mobilize the fleet. Chapter 2, Desperation and Realization. Aboard a rundown ship floating aimlessly far from governmental interests, Dr. Mara Knoll was not privy to the turmoil gripping the Empire. Hunched over an array of outdated equipment, her hands flew across the panels, eyes darting with frenetic energy. A once prominent scientist, banished for her insatiable curiosity and impulsive nature, she now scavenged a forgotten corner of Imperial technology. Though labeled as an outcast, she believed in the old philosophy of chaos and renewal. The Void Eaters, Mara muttered to herself, memorizing the contents of ancient texts she had unearthed through relentless searching. The tales of entities that could devour entire celestial bodies since time immemorial danced in her mind. These were not mere myths, she realized. She felt her pulse quicken as knowledge fused together. The conversion of matter wasn't annihilation. It was transformation into something incomprehensible, something the Empire's clean-cut weaponry couldn't touch. Primitive machines could disrupt it, but she needed something more. At that moment, Mara's comm device crackled with life. "Knoll!" shouted a gruff voice, static crackling between each word. It was Captain Dawkins, a rough but reliable pilot she had run into during a previous escapade. "We're picking up distress signals from Imperial ships, we got to move before the HVF takes us as well." "Wait," she cried, her heart pounding with sudden inspiration. "If we can tap into their signals, we might discover a frequency, something we could manipulate." "Where is your ship?" 17 jumps away, he retorted impatiently. "We might already be done by the time we get to you. Come on, let's go." "No. Not without understanding how they're vanishing," she barked. "Trust me. I can save us all, but I need data." Dawkins hesitated and then sighed, "Fine, let's just make it quick." Chapter 3, Reunification. 2 days later, Mara stood on the deck of the small battered cruiser Sunder, surrounded by makeshift gadgets as they monitored the signals from lost Imperial fleets. Navigating the residual radio waves, she finally struck gold, a frantic signal from the valiant star. "We need to decode this," she exclaimed, her fingers racing over the console. "It's a cry for help, they're facing the Void Eaters directly. Imperial Command won't accept us." Dawkins frowned, glancing around at the eclectic group of rogue crew members who had assumed positions aboard the ship. Mara smiled whimsically at him. "We don't need their acceptance, we need a plan." As they extracted fragments of the transmission from the valiant star, an idea began coalescing in Mara's mind, one that teetered dangerously at the edges of reason. Together, they developed a chaotic cacophony of signals, vibrational frequencies, and an echo of ethereal hope, each dancing wildly across the spectrum, feeding off one another's erratic motion. As days morphed into a week, Mara's dimension warping plan found itself increasingly at odds with the ship's old systems. "Captain, tell me again why we haven't been vaporized yet," muttered one crew member, wires flying chaotically around him as he struggled to reinforce the shielding. "Because we're fucking lucky," Dawkins shot back, beams of light crisscrossing through the air. His voice turned graver, "and lucky won't save our ass when we face it." "We will face it," Mara declared suddenly, her voice steady. "But we can't fight it with clean-cut tactics. We will out-chaos. I believe we can disrupt their conversion frequency like errant musical notes off-key." They worked tirelessly, melding human ingenuity with ancient, discarded imperial devices that were once regarded as relics. Mara's feverish brain burned brighter with each passing moment, the excitement fueled by the fleeting whispers of hope sparking throughout the crew. Chapter 4, The Onslaught. Finally, on fleet assembled nearer the perpetual expanse, one desperate hope remained, the galactic confrontation that hung over the unfolding chaos. A collective fleet from various races and factions loomed in formation surrounding the valiant star, each ship a symphony of sleek designs, all poised against the vast, consuming nothingness. The first emergence of the Void Eater was subtle, an imperceptible defect in reality flickered across the void like a shadow. Panic swelled among the Imperial ranks. STRENGTHT felt the dread coalesce in the pit of his stomach when the reports of missing ships rolled through like harbingers of doom. His fleet, a proud amalgamation of the Empire's most advanced heavy cruisers and frigates, stood ready to fight. Then, coming in from the periphery, a beacon of static and frequency erratically broke into the chaos, igniting curious glances from every corner of the command deck. As STRENGTHT stared, a flicker of realization crossed his grim expression. Mavericks and forgotten humans were the authors of the desperate transmission being modulated among the void, much too loud against the unseen horror. "We're not alone," Mara's voice rang clear through the frequencies, her silhouette stark against the devices and stray blue light. "We're here among you. We can disrupt their process." Admiral STRENGTHT pretended to filter through uncertainties. It felt insane to consider relying upon these so-called primitive humans. Yet, as he bore witness, every flash spurred confidence, drawing unexpected urges from his subconscious, an affront to protocol that demanded every Empire officer extinguish thought of reliance on anything but their own advanced weaponry. "Keep transmitting," he commanded, his tone an undertow for the gathering fleet. "We will strike together." The urgency of despair was now a tension against the fabric of the void as the monstrous entity writhed and surged. Light bent impossibly, creating shadows where none should exist, a tangible sin against nature itself. Chapter 5, The Climax. As the first Imperial weapons hailed and the vastness exploded with fire and brilliance, the Void Eater lurched forward through realities, adopting forms beyond comprehension. Waves of energy ebbed and flowed, overwhelming the sleek crafts with bright energy blips. Yet, every Imperial attempt was met with failure, their technology simply absorbed into the maw of the phenomenon. Fear surged through the fleet while Mara's signal penetrated the chaos, vibrating against the impossible matter. "Continue sending," she screamed over the intercom, fingers wrapping around the old controls like a lifeline. The cacophony they had orchestrated began to drown out the dark harmony of the Void Eater, throwing its rhythms into disarray. "We can do this." Don't stop. STRENGTHT observed with agonizing awe, the steadfast resolve of this ragtag crew, melding their unusual frequencies with an enthusiasm unseen in the Empire's polished ranks, carved paths of possibility. It was a dance across an abyss, where everything merged and fell apart. Slowly, they glimpsed fragments of hope piercing through what once seemed inevitable destruction. The Void Eater recoiled momentarily, its coalescence faltering as human ingenuity intertwined with the Imperial might. Behind the old starship Valiant Star, the strange vessel Sunder began weaving an unpredictable dance, a chaotic ballet in the void, both a challenge and a beacon against despair. Chapter 6, The Final Stand. Yet the ordeal was not over. The Void Eater roiled with a vicious rage, and STRENGTHT knew they would have to push back. If the ancients understood chaos, perhaps they had not fathomed the ultimate emergence that could rise from the flames of despair. Breathing depths beyond measure, he screamed orders into his communicator, reinforced the transponder. Adjust resonance, now. Everyone, brace yourselves. Atop the bridge of Sunder, Mara felt it, a resonating pulse coursing through the ship as they synchronized the frequencies, mixing the loss of hope with unimaginable power radiating from within. They were striking where the Void Eater was the weakest. In the heartbeat before the storm, light danced around them, illuminating a truth that gripped into her soul: their imperfection was their strength. Each version of reality darted among themselves as they reformed their chaotic dance, and then exploded outward into the current of the void. A colossal shockwave reverberated through space, a pulse of vibrant sound, colors cascading amid void black, consuming the darkness like an ancient sun. For moments that seemed enduring and eternal, everything hung in uncertainty until the pulse tethered the fabric of existence, rending it into impossibly vibrant compositions of light and darkness. Admiral STRENGTHT watched as the Void Eater recoiled, its form undulating grotesquely, struggling against the transcendent frequencies that merged human chaos and imperial resolve. The ship's hull creaked ominously as if the previous restrictions of corporeal reality pulled apart, torn and unraveling against the infinite cosmos. It's working! Mara screamed, her voice muffled yet triumphant amid the chaos. Keep pushing. Concentrate. As if ensnared in the beauty of the haunting pressure, the Void Eater heaved one last desperate lunge, slashing into the heart of the fleet. But it was too late. A final pulse erupted forth, the chaotic frequencies dove forward, slicing into the core of the entity, triggering a cascade of vibrations. The universe held its breath as dark matter collapsed, transmuting into itself like bubbles in boiling water. Then, a blinding explosion, a surge of light, enveloped them as the Void Eater dissolved in a cascade of shattered darkness. Chapter 7, A New Dawn. In the aftermath, silence engulfed what had been a battleground. The stars flickered back into existence, laughter and camaraderie echoed through the remnants of the Imperial fleet while the murmur of new life returned to the void. What just happened?" whispered Dawkins, staring into the empty black of space, where once an unimaginable horror had reigned. "A reminder," Mara replied, tears pooling in her eyes beneath the helmet, the weight of their victory pressing heavily against relief. "That life is chaos, always ready to adapt, always too strange to tame. We've uncovered something primal." Even the sturdiest Imperial officers were quick to alleviate their anxieties. STRENGTHT stepped forward boldly, his demeanor shifting as hope flared within him. "We have seen the resolve born from chaos today." He raised his hands, palms turned outward, such that his motion mirrored the importance of acceptance and kinship. "We shall rebuild, together." As the last remnants of the Void Eater faded into an ethereal silence, the Scavenger and the Commander stood side by side. Imperceptible remains of ancient ruins littered the cosmos, ancient echoes replaced by the promise that ranked them within the annals of history as allies. And as the fleets dispersed, Mara Knoll knew that the scars of battle had forged a new alliance, a testament to human adaptability, ingenuity, and resilience. In a universe too vast to constrain, they had survived improbable odds against the encroaching darkness. Together, they had become more than mere stories of extinction, they were the authors of a future unfurling against the stellar tapestry, a radiant reminder of the power of creative thought. And as their words ventured into the light of stars reborn, the cosmos vibrated anew with the possibility of what humanity could achieve: outcasts, inventors, misfits, all under one banner against the void. The end.